Your thoughts on what's happening in Khartoum right now?
Jeff, let me tell you, it's so unfortunate. It is so unfortunate. And I think it's a high time. I've personally, in matters governance, I've not heard what I would have expected AU to talk about. I know IGAD has done what they need to do, but also as East Africa community, I think it's the high time we start looking into how we can solve this problem. Remember, Sudan is very close to home.
It's very close.
It's very close to home, and sometimes I feel, and many, if you ask so many people who've understood the problems of the Horn of Africa, it tells you, Nick, I don't know why this happens, and I don't know why Kenya. Haven't you noticed that when we have skirmishes around our region, something happens? The trickle effect always ends up in Nairobi. Have you noticed?
Yeah.
So you get an influx of refugees. We have two major camps. For Somalia, they've not all gone back home. South Sudan just the other day. Issues that you've seen in Ethiopia, now again in Sudan. I think we need to be so serious about our region, but it's very, very, very unfortunate.
I'm telling you, man.
It's very unfortunate.
And 400 people dead. I don't think you realize 400 civilians in what, 10 days?
And Jeff, somebody will tell you, if you are to talk to people who do international analysis very well, they'll tell you what is reported and what is on the ground are two different animals. What may not be reported is actually maybe high numbers. So as time go by and the reports start coming out, I think we are all going to be surprised and shocked together.
And then you see the U.S. already started evacuating their people.
They already have.
And the Europeans?
They already have. I think most people, you see the people who are, and I guess, the United States, it's because of you see how close they are. They are based in Djibouti. It's easier for them to evacuate their nationals. Unlike probably other nations of the world where you have to,
it's a logistical nightmare.
Cover a lot of, I mean, Kenya have not had our CS, Foreign Affairs, issuing a statement. How many Kenyans are in South Sudan? Have already been evacuated?
Apparently there's 100 students.
Oh my goodness.
100 students.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and they're working on it.
So that's giving us information piecemeal.
Correct. Yeah. And the deal is, like you said, the U.S. has a huge base in Djibouti, so they can fly their choppers into the embassy and all that.
Yeah.
Everyone else is driving to Port Sudan.
Can you imagine?
And from Port Sudan, how do they get here?
There's flights. So you can fly into Port Sudan.
Okay.
But this 12-hour drive.
Yes.
And it's dangerous road.
Oh, it's a serious terrain. Serious terrain. I know I have two friends there. We've been communicating, and they are saying from where they are, things are not as bad. But as you move towards, the Khartoum area, there are places where there are skirmishes. It actually gets nastier. Now, the thing is, you don't know who to trust at this point.
Which militia, which military.
There you go. That has always been a problem. That has always been a challenge. This one is saying ABC. This one is saying XYZ. So you are left in the middle. As a matter of fact, I know so many people who don't even know what is going on. So I think it's so unfortunate that it's happening at this time, Jeff. We thought we had gone over that scale with South Sudan, the separation of South Sudan. We thought we had just normalized things in Ethiopia. I know the former president has been manning the midnight oil, traversing through the region, and I thought something would have come out, a peace process of some sorts would have by now have been attained, but I don't think that's the case. And I think Sudan will really, it has hit home at a very bad time. And that's why I'm thinking, I know the international communities are looking in. I know the United Nations is looking in to try and support whatever, whether it's through humanitarian efforts. But one thing we need to see a serious push from is from the AU.
Which we're not seeing as much.
We've not seen as of yet. I saw there was a meeting with the chairman, Faki, and the team. But we need to see more. We need to see more. We need to see more.
And Sudan was the perfect route to go to Europe for all flights.
Yes.
We fly through Sudan, it saves fuel and all that.
Did you hear what was happening? People are complaining. Because it's a serious detour. Once you're given the NOTAM, it's a serious detour. And it's crazy. It's crazy. The journey that probably was supposed to take 7 hours, now it's probably taking an extra hour. And
maybe 2.
Yeah.
If you have to go across
exactly. Burning a lot of fuel, so it's also a nightmare for airlines.
Is there any hope in sight? Do you feel like they'll resolve their issues anytime soon? Has anyone intervened?
Nick, the problem with such the problem with assisting what people call an internal war, it is because you have you don't have concrete information to go by. The first thing you need to go before you even bring people together, round table, African leaders, before you start reaching out to the leaders of militias, that's time gone. You have you have people who are already dying, and then you hear about the support. How support is arriving in Sudan. You do not know which international entity is supporting which militia. You've had people talking about, Russia is involved, China is involved, so and so is involved. And before you collate all these facts, time has already gone by. So it is very, if it's two nations fighting, obviously you have seen what has been happening in Russia and Ukraine. Already there's a way you can amass international support, and you're able to point out to a certain country and say, hey guys, I think we need to slow down on things. Who has been supporting? Who has been supplying? And then are you giving embargoes? What are you giving trade restrictions? Yeah. The whole 9 yards. But now, in this case, Nick, the first people who you want to try and assist are the civilians. How do you even get in? Yeah. You expect the same people to give you information. How do you land? Where do you land?
It's getting desperate.
Of course.
Water, food, banking, basics. Yeah. People are suffering.
And let me tell you, Jeff and Nick, I went to Somalia immediately after the fall of Al-Shabaab. Jeff, it's heartbreaking. A nation that has not known peace for nearly 20-something years.
Almost 30.
There has been, Nick, honestly, no formal education. Nothing has been working. It is disaster. You have people who are born who don't know anything else. They cannot define peace, even if you hit them with peace on their face. They have no idea. They do not know what calm is, and they are in their 20s. They don't know any setup, no arrangement. They've lived through chaos. It's an entire generation. Jeff, what do you do with such a generation? Can you imagine the kind of education, the kind of knowledge that you have to impact these people into their 40s? They've not known anything. The age of being enlightened has been passed or has passed away where they were in skirmishes and riot and chaos. It is so unfortunate, Jeff.
Unbelievable.
It is so unfortunate.
And like you said, it's a generation wiped away.
Totally.
Speaking of which, the madness in people that they would join a cult.
Oh my goodness.
And follow an individual thinking you're going to heaven or being promised heaven. I mean, what is it about? Is it, again, it's lack of education and ignorance.
I'm not I can't say I'm a good Bible reader like you are, Jeff, but somewhere I think in the book of Hosea talks about the reason why and the reason why my people perish. God is talking, my people perish because they lack knowledge. And I think it is the high time, because all this has been happening, Jeff, while me and you are here.
Yeah.
All of us were in this country, Nick, and everybody is going through their own shugulis. But an entire section of our population is being wiped out by indoctrination. Because to me, this is a doctrine issue. For the longest time, Jeff, we've been talking about regulating the church. And as far as we all agree that it's very hard to regulate faith, think about it. Politicians, who most of us revere, are somewhat regulated by some law, by the constitution.
Right.
That raggedy MCA, you think, this one, once he comes into office, you can't tell them anything. There are laws that regulate him. There are laws that hold him to account. The MP, the governor, the MCA, all the way to the president. There are laws that hold them to account. The church
there's no law.
I've just read the story I was telling you earlier on of the lady who quit her stewardess job.
Stewardess.
So what happened here in Qatar? So her son was living with the grandparents in Malindi.
Okay.
And so somehow he got mixed up in that whole church situation and died from the fasting.
The son?
Yes. So she left her job to come home for the funeral and everything. But somehow they got to manipulate her, and now she wanted to go to be in heaven with her son, and that's how the cookie crumbles.
Exactly. See, Nick, what I'm telling you, it's indoctrination. When you do not know, when you don't know where to go for answers, it's very easy. And it does not matter about education. Jeff, you remember the Waco?
Yeah, Waco, Texas.
You remember?
David Koresh.
David Koresh. You remember the other clowns in Jim Jones?
Yes,
in Guyana, 1978.
Do you recall how educated most of those people are?
Yeah.
So, Nick, it's the indoctrination. I don't know how it happens because
It's
when
got to
you're
be a
talking about
really
matters,
manipulative man for you to...
Of course, when you're talking matters, faith and knowledge, and these people are educated, you have professors, you have doctors who are committing suicide en masse. You really wonder what kind of spirit are you dealing with. But I think it's a high time, even though we are talking about the church self-regulating, the law must also take its course, because I think that's where you draw the parallels. The church understands things different from the way government understands things different. If, Jeff, we are to talk matters governance, I would tell you without a fear of contradiction that government looks at things in a very different way. Nick, we look at things from a lens of legal versus illegal. The church looks at things from a sphere of right or wrong. All right? But whether that jurisdiction has serious people like what we call the religious fathers, or whether it is you're looking and this, I'm not talking about the Christians alone, I'm talking about the Islam, I'm talking about the sheikhs in the Muslim world, I'm talking about the serious Catholics that we know, I'm talking about the Hindu. At some point, morality must mean something. It must mean something, because back in the day when we were talking about the Bishop Ndingimona Nzeki, when we were talking about Bishop Muge, the church back then was a moral gatekeeper. Jeff, what has happened? What has happened? Because this is the time we are witnessing such a thing in this country, and you're still talking about 800 acres.
Yeah,
that's are yet to be combed. So what? Sometimes I'm even afraid about talking, just discussing this issue, because you do not know what is going to be found. Nick, you've just told us, look at that lady. Somebody took time to actually derange herself through her sorrow. How Jeff, how evil can you be?
Yeah, evil is the word.
I mean, and you're looking at children. Just the other day, I saw a video of kids saying that they don't want to go to school. Apparently, this did not happen just the other day.
No, it's been around since 2015?
Can you imagine?
That's 8 years.
Can you imagine? So as we talk about the South Coast, Jeff, we must also talk about where all of us have been and what we need to do moving forward. Is it the high time we start using the strength that we have in the media to discuss what is morally right, what the true doctrine should be?
But you see now people have freedom of expression, freedom of association,
freedom of religion.
So it's hard to really, and until someone gets manipulated into doing something wrong, there's really much you can't do. Like the guy here just said, the trick is not to start listening to some of these people, because some people can really draw you in with words. So he's using the Bible, yes, and he's talking to you, and it makes a lot of sense until now he catches your attention, and then you veer off. You see, there's nothing we can do about that.
But you see,
as media or
you see, Nick,
the law.
no, there's something we can do, because there's no absolute freedom. There has never been. It will never be. There is nothing, Jeff, as absolute freedom or absolute expression of speech. No. Because if that was the case and you say, oh, I have freedom of expression, then that would mean you can hold a microphone in a place like Uhuru Park and have people commit mass suicide. There has to be, Nick, at some point, there has to be a barrier that does not allow you to go any further. Just because somebody has allowed you to hold a microphone and preach to people, it also means that there has to be an environment where you're gauged of the content that you want to give out.
So what do you think is going to happen to this guy?
First of all, I think he's cuckoo, if you ask me. There's a serious mental issue going on. I saw when he was picked by the police, and when he was put in the police car, you heard what he was saying. Ngojeni mtaona. Kuna kitu yaja bana itawagonga.
You know those guys, of course, too, can threaten you. Ukiona tu paka nyeusi. Ngoja.
You will be sleeping with one eye.
Ile paka mpita pa mbele.
Ngojeni. But you see, Jeff, look at it this way. You've done all you can in your life to ensure that your kids listen to sanity. You have put firewalls all over to ensure that the content that they watch, the content that they listen to is in tune and is in line with your way of life. In comes somebody who is unregulated, who can reach to them and tell them all manners of nonsense. Where did we drop the ball? Because if we must discuss this, then it must happen in honesty and in serious open. I do not believe, Jeff, for 1 minute, that church is an independent variable. It should not be left, everybody waking up, opening a church and just preaching. I don't think that is it. We must find a way to hold these people to account. Failure to which we can expect this for the longest. There should be a law against indoctrination. And this is because we know what the true doctrine is all about.
Yeah.
You know, look, I mean, sometimes, you know, we try to beat around the bush, but look at the Islamic faith. It is very controlled in terms of doctrine. You know for sure what is or what they follow, you can tell. And that is why when you hear people who are an offshoot of the mainstream, they are nipped in the bud.